All right, welcome everybody to TesterSpeak series on the Test Chat YouTube channel. This is our very first episode, and I am so happy to have my friend Adebayo Jacobs Amoo. I think I got your name right. Uh,
Yes, you did.
and it is a pleasure always to speak to him. But let us try and speak to him. And today we'll be discussing things around testing, some of the misconceptions that we have, and how and why we need to get rid of them. So let us get started. How are you, Adebayo?
I'm good, thank you very much, Brijesh. It's always a pleasure talking to you as well. So thanks for setting this up, even though I'm still gonna have to block you at some point. But yeah, it's a privilege to have this conversation with you, mate. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. All right. So my first question to you, I know personally, but I would like the viewers to know a little more about you. So why don't you start by telling about yourself as to how your testing journey began, and how you have been able to spread the light of testing in the community like you have been doing.
The professional journey started by accident, to be honest. I didn't plan to be a software tester. Actually, I didn't know about it. Um, Way back in school, I studied civil engineering with wood engineering as my major. And I wanted to do something with computers, whatever it is, because I had a laptop when I was in second year in uni, and I really liked working on it, playing with it. So I wanted to do something along that line. I don't know what I wanted to do, so I came to England and I went to study computing and information systems at post-degree level. And then someone mentioned something about software testing to me. And a friend of mine was working. I was in his flat. We were supposed to be going out. I was fiddling with something that looked like aptitude test on his table, and I didn't think anything of it. And the following week, I got a phone call from his office on his mobile actually, and it turns out it was his manager, and the lady was like, "Were you do you remember doing something on a piece of paper?" And I was scared, thinking I got in trouble. And I was like, no, that was me. I was fiddling with the piece of paper because we was getting ready, we were going out, but I was just fiddling with it. And she was like, no, 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 you didn't do anything wrong. You actually solved the problem we've had for a while. Are you available for an interview? Interview for me? An interview for what? She did call it something analyst. I struggled to believe she meant test analyst because I didn't hear her properly. And that's how my test career started. I did it a couple of months. I enjoyed it, and I started reading more. And then I got into learning about. I learned about Michael Bolton first. I knew him first before I knew James Back. And I read about them, the books, and I started reading all about testing. And while I was evolving in it, Fujitsu got hold of me and literally trained the hell out of me in testing. Um, Tools, concept, courses, all of the trainings. Fujitsu just literally turned me into a testing machine. Um, they trained me everywhere. They sent me everywhere. They exposed me to all sorts of projects. I was there for a couple of years. When I left Fujitsu, I became a private consultant, contracting for various clients. And it's pushing 20 years now that I've been doing that. And I've been able to take the message with me because at the beginning, I had no idea what testing was. I didn't even know it exists. And all of a sudden, I was given so much information by people who know, and they stood by me and supported me to build the tester that I am today. And I literally take that with me wherever I go. Like if I see people and they don't even know that testing exists, I basically replicate what was done for me. I was in Nigeria earlier this year to speak to fresh graduate youngsters about software testing. Most of them they haven't heard about it before. So, I mean, that's how I started my journey. That's how I got to where I am. And that's how I try to get hold of people. Just look at somebody and look at people and I go, what do you do for a living? Do you know there's something called software testing? Listen, if you get into that field, you don't have to work all your life. You don't literally have to work because it's fun, you enjoy it, and this is how it works. And I try to equip people with knowledge, the fundamental knowledge as well. Just taught a foundation course of it recently. I'm planning now, currently putting together classes for the intermediate course as well, and it's all free. So that's how I've been able to do the little I've been able to
I think that is an incredible story, and I'm sure that people will be more and more curious to learn about all the great work that you've been doing, and especially the fact that you're doing it all for free is something just unbelievable. I am sure that the world needs a lot more good people like you, and for the kind of stuff that you've been doing. So thank you so much for that one. Now, my other thought process, or something that always bothers me, is that there is a lot of misconceptions that are floating around across the industry about testing. So, what do you think about those? What is your view of those?
um I think I've written on some of this on LinkedIn quite lately as well. There are so many misconceptions, starting from us testers as well. Most of us really don't understand what we do. Most of us don't understand why we do what we do. And I think those 2 points are very important. And the way these things build up over the years, I'll give you an analogy of it. If you and I are brothers and we consistently do something, outsider will look like they will look at us like that's how their family behave. Okay, because we are brothers. If you and I and a few people living on the same street adopt that thing and start doing the same thing, outsiders will look at us and go, that's how they do on that street. No longer family, then it's now a streetwide. If we manage to conscript the whole town to start doing the same thing with us, it becomes an habit of that town. Okay. And when we all grow old and we pass those on, it becomes a culture. And before you know it, we have instituted a culture of wrongdoing, starting from just you and I. This misconception started from the software testing industry and professionals themselves. And I said, most of us don't really understand what we do. I I've had people say to me that testing would no longer be a job in the 20s. Like 20 years ago, I've had people say to me, I've met people who have been practicing for about 40 years that have told me that when they started, someone told them that 20 years into their career, they will be jobless. And that was 20 years before I started. And now I'm pushing 20 years in my career, and people are still saying the same thing. So the misconception is there. But how did we get into that misconception? That's something we all need to understand. And that is why I gave you that analogy. Look at you and I today. We are pushing 20 years, 30 years in our careers. We are hiring teams. Our belief, whatever we teach our team, is what they will hold onto. If you are and I have some misconception, subconsciously we're going to pass that misconceptions to our team, whoever we teach, whoever we mentor, anyone that comes across to us. When we leave the practice and these guys becomes the hiring manager, the senior managers, and all of that. By then, it will have become a culture to them, and no one could challenge them on it anymore because their mentor, their trainer, their teacher taught them that, and their mentor, trainer, teacher was very successful. So you can't come from anywhere and try to change this. This has been, that's why people say to you, oh, that's how we do it. That's how we've been doing it. Someone erroneously started it. No one questioned it. And then it passed down a few generations and boom, everyone thinks that's the gospel truth. No, it is not. We testers
Yeah.
need to understand what we do, why we do it. For example, testing is testing. I work in predominantly in the healthcare industry. I've met a lot of surgeons. I've worked in a lot of surgery, as in sit down, PC, in surgeries and all of that. I am aware that 90 to 95% of all surgery is done with some form of tool. I have never met an automated surgeon before. As in, these guys do everything they do using tools. I've never for once met an automated or automation or surgical automation expert, whatever it is, automation. But we testers we are happy to call ourselves that. Why we do it can be traced to so many things. Our culture and reality is different. Some people, like I've written in the past, some people work in software development houses. Now, within the software development houses, there are different identities on the team. So you and I looking at them from outside, they are just a software development house. It does not matter to me if you are the QA, the SQ, the whatever you call yourself. All of you over there are software developers. You are all developing softwares. Now, when you do that, someone outside of that cocoon will take that software and test it. Now, this person doesn't care what language you wrote the development in, what how you built it. No one cares. Does it work? If I give this to my client, would they be able to use it? I remember when um, people realize that we have to use online medium to send money across the globe. We have PayPal. Some people struggle with PayPal. Now we have World Pay, and then you have all of a sudden everybody is doing payment platform now. But at the
Yeah.
beginning, no one believed that we would go that far. So when we shifted into that, all of a sudden you start saying, I need a finance test manager. What is that? That does not exist. And you see people actually applying for the role. And when they do get the role, they call themselves finance test manager. And when they do the job for 10 years, 12 years, whatever, and they retire and they pass on the role to someone else, automatically the person comes in and name themselves a finance test manager. In
Yeah.
actual sense, what you are is a test manager who operates in the finance industry. So
Exactly.
that's how we build misconception. Every misconception we can talk about right now, that's
Yeah.
usually how they start. Someone
Yeah.
does it wrongly, no one challenges it, everyone left him. He did it for a while, then left, put someone else in it. That someone else was stuck in that wrongness. That is their
Right.
reality. That's what they know. It's going to take a whole lot to shift that from that person's mentality than correcting the actual wrongdoing in the first place. And that's the situation we found ourselves with automation manual, with QA and testing. People say they are QA lead. Okay, let's even flow with that logic for a few minutes. If you are a QA lead, what exactly do you do? Are you quality assurance lead, quick action lead? What exactly is the QA? Or if you say you are QA as a role, that makes zero sense. I'm a tester. When I'm working on a project as a tester, they give me responsibilities. My responsibility could make me a test manager, a test lead, a test whatever. But primarily, I'm a tester. If you are on a project and you're using Appium, Selenium, Python, whatever it is you're using, primarily you are a tester. We've
Yes,
given you a responsibility within that team. So you are responsible for using Selenium, WebDriver, or whatever it is you use to run some part of the testing. That does not make you anything else apart
yeah,
from a tester. Okay.
that's right.
So yeah. So when we start looking at the responsibility we were given in particular project or organization to name ourselves, this is what happens. That is how you end up with um, I don't want to mention things, but that's how you end up with a lot of different titles and roles. And when you sit down to look at these things, 9 out of 10 times, you just smile because it makes no sense. So, if we are going to look at the misconceptions or do anything about it, we need to start. We need to start from the software testing professionals and industry. I've known Michael Bolton for a while now. He's never called himself anything else apart from a tester.
Exactly. Yeah,
He's never called,
yeah,
I can't remember seeing him calling himself anything. He's always a tester. And when you listen to him speak, you can tell from experience that he has used tools, several tools. He's probably developed tools, several tools. He has done a lot of testing work.
yes.
Primarily, he's a tester. So I think that's that's the genesis of it, and that's how we can deal with it.
So this brings me to a very interesting question. I mean, do you think people try to call themselves something else to sort of add to their self-esteem in the society? Do they think that okay, being called as a test manager would make people look at me differently than being called as a tester? Or if they say, okay, I am a QA lead, people will give me a lot more respect than what a tester would get. Do you think that is the problem? That is due to work pressure or society pressure, if I may call it?
Um, it could be a lot of things, including what you've just said. We can we can cite so many instances. When I was working at Fujitsu, I wanted to become a senior test manager because I was a test manager at Fujitsu. I wanted to become a senior test manager. I covet that role, senior test manager. And then one day, my manager was not at work, and I had to do the stuff that he needs to do. And for that day, even though no one called me that, I became the senior test manager because I was representing my boss. And the stuff that I had to do that day took me away from being hands-on on testing. That was the point where I decided, nope, I do not want to be a senior test manager anymore. I just want to be a tester because I realized that as a senior test manager, I was being more admin management and not much more of physical testing. And I don't want that. Now, if we look at the things people call themselves, some is blatantly ego, some is
Yeah,
down to ignorance, some is about culture, like you said, some is about self esteem, like this makes me feel good. I'm going to call myself this. If we explore these things, it comes down to one thing. Basically, we've misunderstood what we do. Like, your name is Brishesh. If I see you tomorrow and I call you Rav or Raj, you will take it first of all as Ade is just being funny. But if I
Yeah.
consistently call you Raj, it's going to come to a point where you look at me and go, hang on a minute, what is wrong with you? My name is not Raj. You know that.
Well,
Even after telling
right.
me, if I continue to call you Raj, it's just a matter of time before you get angry with me.
Right.
Now, if I don't know you before, if you've never introduced yourself to me, if we only just met, and maybe you said it, I can't remember, but I don't want to be rude, but you've introduced, I've forgotten your name, in trying to call you something and not just say, hi, buddy, or I missed that because we're not that close yet. If I accidentally call you Richard,
Yeah.
what would you would correct me. Now, if
Right.
you correct me, I would then take the correction and go from there. That, oh, he's not Richard. If someone else call you Richard, I will correct them. Okay.
Correct.
So, and
Yeah.
that is the analogy of it. When people call themselves something, if there's no one around there to correct them, it stays, it sticks. Now, they might do that for any reason at all because it confuses a lot of people. They don't actually know what they do because they don't understand what they do because it makes them feel good. There's a particular side of Nigeria that they are well educated in that part of the country. And the educated ones believe that you have to speak a lot of big grammar to show that you are educated. And they do. Right? They do that a lot. Now the problem is when you speak a lot of big grammar, you lose the audience. Because
Yeah.
most of the audience really don't understand the big grammar. They just want you to tell them in simple language they could understand. And these guys consistently they do it. They still do it up to now. You listen to an interview with somebody for like 5 minutes. At the end of the interview, you ask yourself, what did I just listen to? Because it makes no sense. But individually, when you go into the dictionary to look at every word individually as a silo, most of them are there. Most of them made some form of meaning. But when he was saying it, it's jargon to you and I. So when people call themselves all of these fancy names, ugly names sometimes, meaningless names sometimes, it could be because of ego, because it makes them feel good, because but I put it down to they simply don't understand what they do. Because if you understand what you do, you'll be able to describe yourself as if you're talking to a child. If my daughter asks me, Dad, what do you do? Dear daughter, I'm a software tester. Okay, what is that? I test software to see if it does what it should do, to see if it has any inherent problems, to see how it works so I can educate others. I can teach my little girl, any child, I can tell them what I do without
Right.
using a lot of big grammars that will confuse them. And that is what all of us should aspire to. All these fancy names, after a while, you realize that at the end of the day, you're just a tester. Now,
That's good.
responsibility comes in different shades and forms. Some people are responsible for defining strategy, plan, schedule, all sorts of responsibilities. Manager, lead, architect, well, all sorts. But at the end of the day, you are a test manager because you are a tester. If you take out the test from manager, you are just a manager. Anyone could be a manager. So at the end of the day, we all need to realize that we are testers. Whatever responsibility we get in any project or any organization we work, we are software testers. That could make you a program manager. It could make you a test manager. It could make you a test lead. It could make you a test architect. It could make you a test anything. It could be anything. In fact, you could even be scrum master. At the end of the day, remember, you are a tester. So the more a lot of us understand these things, the more those fancy names disappears because once you get to a point you realize, what do I do for a living? I'm a software tester. That's it. Tester. So
Well, so,
that's
yeah, that's a very interesting and important lesson for all of us testers to basically understand what we do and to basically stick to what we do normally, and to be able to explain it to a child, which I think you've used it in a lot of phrases that we've interacted over the past few weeks or months that we've known each other. So I think I know where you are coming from. Now, the problem that the testers face these days is that they are working on a lot of projects which have very high demand. They say, okay, we need a tester for an agile team, or we need a tester for a DevOps team, or we need job description says we need an automation tester. He should be knowing Selenium with Java. He should be knowing Python. He should program. He should be able to jump around. He should be able to dance. He should be able to do. So two questions at the back of that. How do you see this problem being handled? The problem of poor job descriptions when it comes to testing roles. And secondly, how do you see the future of a tester in an agile environment or in a DevOps environment?
Your first question, this is something I sit down and ask myself a lot. When I go into project and I look at the development team, I ask myself, who recruited this guy? You will find out it's a senior developer or another developer who spoke to the development guy to recruit them. I've been a test manager on so many projects. Sometimes most times when I get into a role, I either have a test team ready. Now, who recruited those guys? Who recruited my team? Does that person know anything about testing? Question number one. Secondly, when you look at the development guys, the development team, they speak the language of the developer who recruited them. Okay. As testers, we speak the language of the project manager who recruited us or whoever recruited us. And most of the time, the people who recruited us don't have the foggiest idea about what we do or how we do it. So for me, that's a big problem. I've started speaking up about it. Like when you are bidding for a contract or when you are putting a project together, most of the time when I start a project, I know the go live date. In fact, they do tell me go live date at interview that Ade, we are running this project. We think we want to go live next year, April.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is a project manager talking. Now, this project manager has spoken to the development team. They've spoken to the business analysts. They've spoken to everybody else. All of them, excluding the testing, have agreed on a go live date. And then they decide to have a tester to come and test it. So that agreement, we are outside of it. They have not included us in that agreement to go live at Source. I gave a speech at Cambridge at one of Ministry of Testing events, I think last year, May or something like that. Why do testing projects fail? A lot of people say a lot of different things about why project fails. Your question is the reason why test project fails. And the response is part of the speech I gave that day. We testers, we come outside of the remit of the project most of the time. Most of this, even in Agile, when you look at the Agile composition, like a couple of years ago, I was part of the Agile team. When you look at the Agile composition, the tester fundamentally does not have any standalone task to do in Agile. The tester cannot choose individually when they can do X, Y, Z. The tester in Agile methodology is tied to the apron of the development delivery. So when you have a certain delivery in any shape or form, whether it comes in a sequential logical fashion, which is a core concept of how we test, it has to be sequential logically. But when you have a delivery being given to you haphazardly, you are testing according to the agile methodology. You test whatever is delivered anyway. So you are testing those things as they are given to you. So there's no logical sequence to anything. So the tester on that team is just an extra bomb on the set to check that these things have been done. Okay. Now that is not how it's supposed to be. If you have someone who understands testing, sit down with the tester on the agile squad and say, right, this is what the guys are developing. Okay. Before the sprint starts, yeah, this is what the guys are developing. This is how you get your delivery. What do you think about it? Okay. After a few hours sitting down looking at it, you go, right. If I'm going to test this sequentially according to the functionality, I won't be going A, B, C, D. As a matter of fact, I'll be going D, E, F, G in that logical sequence. Testers don't have such input at all. Testers don't have the freedom to go, that can be tested now until you've delivered the next release. Whatever is given to you, they want you to test it. I've had problems with that where I'm looking at the solution as a whole. Part of the solution is not ready. Now I'm testing this component on its own. My management is asking me to report on the whole system. I can't because part of it has not even been built. And I made that clear to them. So the danger there is that as a test industry, we're still being interviewed by non-testers. Most of us are being interviewed by people who don't even know testing. I used to tell a few of my friends that are program managers that if you want to recruit testers, if you want to interview testers, get hold of software testers or test managers that you know. They can interview these guys for you. Okay, so you get the best person in. But when you, as a project manager with no idea how testing is done, are putting a test team together, you've given the test team KPIs and whatever tasks to do, and at the end of it, you turn around and say they failed. No, they haven't failed. You have failed. So that's the first question. The second question is the future of testing, right? No one can define the future of testing for us. We have to define it ourselves. We have to absolutely choose how we want the future of testing to be. Most of the things we do now, we will continue to do. We are going to have a lot of new additions as well. For example, I'm excited at the prospect of everything being Wi-Fi enabled, the IoT things and all of that. I want to be able to sit down in my living room and call my laptop from the bedroom to come downstairs. I want to be able to I want to be able to connect to anything from anywhere. You know, I want to be able to be like I should be able to do everything. That's a huge, huge testing opportunities. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll continue to do the same thing, but at the same time, we'll continue to get clever tools. Now, my fear is a lot of people are going to they will discount the tester in the test automation framework, and that leaves you with nothing. So we testers, we need to decide what the future of testing will be. I, for one, believe testing will always be in demand. Test professionals will always be in demand. Testing as a career will last a long time. I don't know how long, but it's going to last a very, very long time. Even when we come to the future where everything is robotics, as some people are forecasting, someone needs to test the robots.
Correct.
So even if we turn everything to machine, the machine has now learned everything. The human don't have to do anything. If I want to go and play golf, all I have to do is connect to my golf bag. My golf bag drive itself to the golf course. I don't even have to swing. I can just connect to my golf club from my bag And the golf club will take itself out of the bag, choose the exact club that will go the exact distance that I want to go, and I can control the swing from a pad, and it just swing itself. I don't. Someone somewhere still needs to physically test those things. So
Right.
even if we convert everything to machine, as testers, someone still needs to test it. So the future is bright as far as I'm concerned. But the issue about recruiting testers, interviewing testers, how we put a testing in place, the role of testers in so many different methodologies like Agile, I found out how a lot of testers are being used on some of these methodologies. They are simply an afterthought. They are simply the person to take all of the issue to and dump it at their doorstep to go, right, is your problem now? Testers are not the problem. Testers find problems. And that is not the only thing we do. We engage the application to get more information out of it. If you look at, I
Exactly.
gave an example. I gave an example about the lemon tree, the lemon and lemonade recently. The customer wants lemonade. Okay. The developer has provided a lemon tree. You, the tester, need to sit down, look at what the client looks at. They want lemonade, and I have a lemon tree. How do I make lemonade? What's the missing link? Ah, I see what you've done wrongly. Instead of providing lemon, you are providing lemon tree. So you're asking the customer to go and plug the lemon to make the lemonade themselves. No, 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 that's not what they've asked you. They're asking you to bring the lemons. Actually, if you're going to be very client savvy and positive, you should give them the lemon sliced into with a bowl and a squeezer. That is it. That's what the customer expects of you. But the only person that can drag that information out is us, the tester. We look at what the developer has done. We look at what the client wants. We test what's been given to us and go, okay, this is the problem. This is what I expect here. So we need to continue to chip at that to get to the bottom of that problem. It's going to take us a while. It's going to take time, but it's not impossible.
Right. Right. Yeah. Those were some beautiful examples that you gave. Now that brings me to my next question. So my next question is, you know, when we talk of agile, when we talk of DevOps, we suddenly start talking in terms of automation. Okay, the big scary beast called automation. Okay, and people talk about it so much that these days the job descriptions come only asking for automation tools and knowledge of some coding language. They have somehow assumed that anybody who comes for an interview is going to be a testing expert. And that to me is a big bummer. What is your take on that one?
First of all, I don't call myself an expert, despite the fact I've been doing it for a while. When you get to the point that you're calling yourself an expert, you're shutting to the door to further learning, unlearning, relearning, and all sorts of things. So I never call myself an expert to start with. I don't have a problem with people calling themselves that, but when you probe a little bit deep, you realize that they are not really experts. Secondly, with regards to automation, there's a fundamental thing I talk about when I talk about automation, and I have people, especially people on agile methodology, say this a lot. The first thing they tell you is we're using automation to save time to do other things. Now, let's go into that state a little bit deeper. We are automating stuff we already know works, okay?
Yes.
So we can focus on other things. What are these other things? A lot of people struggle to tell you what the other things are. Okay. Now, if you are only automating the things that you know works, why is automation key in your requirement of a tester? Because nothing already changes on those things anyway. You know they work. Okay. So if someone comes in and they can't automate those things, you know those things work anyway. So
Yeah.
there is a way you could go around that to rerun those tests. But why not focus on the things you don't know? Why not put effort testing those things that you don't know? I have a regression pack once that takes my clients a few weeks to run. And when I came in, there was talk of automation and all of that. And I have a team of 6. And when I designed the whole test, I realized that I've covered about 80% of the regression pack in the test. And I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a week of pre-execution testing where we do a combination of exploratory part of the regression. Now, the part that we were not covered in our test, we covered them during the pre-week and the exploratory and all of that. At the end of the day, we're able to run the test, make sure those things that we know work continue to work. We didn't put an automation expert to it. At the end of it, or we automated it, don't get me wrong, but the focus at that time was on what we don't know. We've already benchmarked those ones. We've already versioned them. We know those things work. So as we progress, we keep an eye on them to make sure it works. So if I know something works, why is that the priority for me? I'm looking to do the other bit. Okay, so that's one. Secondly, when you say to them, oh, in Agile, you're saying that you're using automation so you can save time. The time you are saving, what are you saving it for? I've been asking that question for a while. I have not received a very convincing response to it. Because if the automation is there to save you time so you can focus on something else, what is that something else? Let me tell you what they are saving time for. They are saving time so they'll have time to sit and operate the automation tool. The time they are saving it so they can set up the framework, they can maintain the framework, they can maintain the automation tool. So that has taken time away from actual testing. Now, all you are doing is making sure your framework stands, your framework survives, your tool works. Are you really testing now? So the time you are saving, how can we ensure, if you are really saving any time, how can we ensure that time is spent on quality test activity? We need to define what the other tasks are. You're saving time, it saves you 4 hours. Okay, great. What did you use the 4 hours for? How have you used the 4 hours? Okay, so that's the first one that I see when people talk about automation this, automation that, automation this, automation that. A lot of people don't understand why automation concept comes in. I've had people say to me, when you are talking to the management and you tell them the automation will not find defect, you can't defend yourself. And I say to them, don't go into that kind of conversation with anyone. Automation is not finding defect. Testing is. When you have that kind of conversation, you are setting up yourself to fail. Okay? Talk about your testing, not the kind of testing. Talk about your testing as a whole. We've been running our test execution. We found some defects. I think we missed some. Defend your test plan strategy. Don't go and start defending your tool or the automation you're doing. And this goes back to ignorance. If you understand that automation is your technical assistant in running your test, because your tool, there's no tool right now that can define what test they run, when they will run it, how they will run it, when they will start, when they will stop, the sort of parameters they will put in themselves. Human beings have to do those things. So don't delegate your responsibility to your technical digital assistant, because that is what the test tools are. They are your assistant. They are things that you use that aids you to do stuff. So don't delegate your responsibility to them. Don't delegate your skill set, the things that you should be doing to them. So when you are talking about automation, you need to have a specific need, specific reasons for automation. Why do you need a tool right now? Oh, we want to do it to save time. At the beginning, automation used to be about regression tests. Now we are automating stuff that we've not even built. We are automating stuff that has not even been designed. We are automating stuff that we are just thinking about them. Um, how does that plate work? Oh, you mean the plate with the new design? Yeah. I've written the test case in Selenium. You what? It's not even been built yet. You know, and then before you realize it, and then you see we have a lot of apps, a lot of systems that don't work. It's not because the concept is bad, it's not because nothing is wrong with it, it's because we built them wrongly. And this is what happens when we don't marry any technical activity we do with the physical activity the end users would do. Because whatever we are producing right now, somebody somewhere that has no idea what testing or development or agile or waterfall or DevOps is going to use it. For those kind of people, the test team, the tester, is their last line of defense. We are the sounding board for them. We need to use it like they would try to use it so we can feedback to say, if my grandpa should get hold of this, it will be lost because he can't use it because this is what. So those are the things I look at when I look at automation. But the whole conversation around automation is getting confusing by the day because I just think a lot of people don't understand why they should use automation.
Right. I think that is a good drill down into automation and stuff. However, in my observation, what I have seen is that there is a lot of bandwagon bias. If we talk of cognitive biases, people are doing it, so let's also do it. The context is not understood. It may have worked for them, not necessarily work for you. Okay, and then people try and do it. People just don't do it right. The immediate discussion start. Okay, what tools? Oh, Selenium is hot. Let's pick up Selenium. Is Selenium the tool that you actually need? Is Java the language that you need to work on? What if your application has been built on C Sharp? Or what if your application has been built on Python? Will a test automation tool or something in Java, will it help? Are you clear about what you need to automate? Are you clear about what extent of automation you need to have? Are you thinking about what specific areas you look to automate first, and then take small steps from there? All of that is not done at all, and to me, that's where the disaster begins. People do not understand automation for what it is. People understand automation for what it is not. Okay, automation is often considered as the big silver bullet. It will solve all the problems, but what it ends up doing is it creates more problems. And we all talk about these companies putting up these pipelines for uh, 15 I mean build every 15 minutes or 10 things like that. When we talk about all this, we sort of tend to forget or ignore the fact that what they are doing is not essentially solving the problems that they should be solving for the customer, but through these multiple releases, the multiple builds, they are trying to solve the problems that this automation has
Created.
created for them.
True.
Right? So I mean, that's how I look at it. And what you said fits in absolutely in the same thought process, that not enough thought is given. In fact, when you started, you began the whole conversation by saying that testing is outside the whole box. That is outside of any agreement that is made, and then we are told that okay, the software will be released on so and so date. So the problem is that the way people look at testing needs to change. The way people treat testing. This testing is often coming to people or projects as an afterthought. Oh, we built this. Now what should we do? We built this, we released this, we've got 1,000 bugs. I think we need somebody to take a look at it for us. And then they bring those, and then next time if something goes out even to production, who tested it? Why did you miss it?
Yeah.
That's the next question that they ask. Right?
Yeah.
Every time we've seen this happening. So I think you've made some very valid points.
In addition, Bridges, let me also mention something as important as well. Most of the time when people say to you, we are going to use Selenium, who do you think is making those decisions? Do you think it's the testers? No, it is not. You see,
No.
when you go into a project and they say to you, we are going to use Selenium, who is we? Whose decision
Yeah.
was that? That decision
Yeah.
was based on what? How do you know? But because they think that we can make this kind of decision, you can never tell a developer what language they should write their code in. They will just smile and laugh at you. Okay? They might just shake their head and say, yeah, yeah, yeah. They will laugh at you. Why do you think it's appropriate for you to tell a tester how to do the job? I'm coming into a new
Yeah.
role, or you've recruited me to join a team, and on the first day or the first week or something like that, you're telling me, oh, for this project, we're going to use Selenium WebDriver. How do you know? Have I come back
Yeah.
to tell you what test I'm going to run and how I'm going to do? You would wait for the tester to tell you, this is the plan, this is how we intend to do it, this is what we intend to do. Peradventure, if we struggle with time, we could automate this kind of test. And these are the kind of tools that are available to do this. It's not down to you being the whatever to go, oh, we're going to use um uh whatever it is. No. But what do we have now? That's what happens. Someone just sit down there, a company will go and buy a test tool and then tell their test team, all of you should go and learn that tool. From next week, we're using that tool. Okay. But whose decision was that? Do you know
Exactly.
if that actually would work with what we're doing? Because I'll tell you this, Bridges. The last couple of projects I've done, if you bring in a Selenium expert, it's going to be absolutely useless on those projects because there's nothing a Selenium WebDriver would do on those projects. You can't use Selenium at all. And if you now have such person and then say, yeah, you are the Selenium expert, but that's what you call them. I need a tester, but you can't tell the difference because you are not a test professional. So, and
Yeah.
this goes back to your first question, why we have all these fancy names, anomalies. And some people will just go and build a product and start hyping it, and then someone buys it, and that someone mandate everybody to go and learn it. I look at some profiles on LinkedIn and I really feel for them. A lot of job seekers are already vulnerable.
Yeah.
We should not be taking advantage of that. We should be helping
That
them.
is right. Yeah.
So when you see someone that has learned X tool, Y tool, Z tool, like 10 tools in their headline, and they are still looking for work, just imagine how much money they've spent
That is right.
learning all of. I don't get that. And that is, I frown at things like that. How about we just focus on testing fundamentals? I can,
Yeah.
like I was saying this morning,
Absolutely.
Bridget, sorry, like I was saying this morning, I can teach anyone,
Yeah.
or I can deploy any resources to teach anybody, learning any tool in a few days, in a week, tops. I can't teach you how to be a very good tester in a month.
Right. Right.
So if I have a very good tester on my team who understand why we are testing, the concept of what we're doing, if we need automation, I can teach that person automation in a week. They already have the concept, they already have the thinking, they know what we're doing. So teaching them how to use the tool is the easier thing to do than teaching an expert in tool usage how to be a good tester. That's much more difficult.
Yeah.
So that was what I wanted to add to it. Sorry.
Yeah. So what I was going to say, what I was going to say is, this brings me again back to the previous question about job descriptions. Now, the way I look at it, job description is, okay, when we see these fancy automation job descriptions, and this is what has been literally killing the market for a long time now. That we need a Selenium tester, we need a tester with you know test project knowledge and Cypress knowledge or whatever, 1,000 tools list. How did you come to that decision that you need a tester with that particular skill set? Did the tester tell you that your project will need that kind of a tool, or will that work for you? How did you arrive at that decision and you posted a job seeking for that? Who took that decision?
Yeah.
Who decided that your job needs that particular tool and that needs to be used and that will give you the results that you're looking for? I mean, it is absolutely absurd, in my opinion, for people to put out those kind of job descriptions. And I am, appalled to see all those things happening. I sometimes ask those, recruiters these kind of questions. You know, how did somebody arrive at that decision? And that is exactly what you also mentioned, that people take these decisions and they are like, okay, some tester will come, he will bring in Selenium knowledge and he will test and he will bail me out of the situation, and then the result is a total disaster. And that is why I have failed to see any statistics in the market which have showed me the success rate of automation projects. I mean, I do not know in your experience if you have seen some, but I haven't
No.
seen any statistics, any reports saying that, okay, this is the success rate of projects involving automation. I mean, people give me stories about Facebook having, such a fantastic automation pipeline, and they are able to do, uh, I don't know how many releases every day, and look how cool it is. Everything is automated. They do not hire testers anymore. But do you know that Facebook itself, on its blog page, says, talks about how they release their software out to the market? And they also mention right below that we are, still seeing bugs in production. So what is the reason? Is that automation tool or is that automation pipeline solving all the problems for you? No, it is not. It is solving the problems that have been created by that automation setup that you have put in.
True.
Okay, and that is the fundamental thing that we have been talking about. I know you and I have chatted about it, and we've had our friends also talking about it, and that is the main problem. And thank you so much for highlighting those things. And before I close, I have my last question for you. So
Yeah.
we know that you've been doing such cool things for yourself, for the testing community, for testers from not just from Nigeria but from all over the world. You've created a YouTube channel. You've got some videos going there, so it's
Yeah.
all fantastic. I just wanted to know, and I'm sure our viewers are also curious uh, about two things. One is, why do you call yourself a teapot? Number one. Number two, what do you do for fun? I mean, I know you test for fun, but what do you do when you're not having fun?
Okay. Well, me being called teapot is something my dad taught me a while back. It's one of the few things that have stuck with me since I was a teenager, to be honest. I was having a conversation with my dad um, some years ago. I think it's about 20 something years ago, just after my mom died. And a lot of people turned up um, at mom's funeral and were talking about what mom did for them. I was asking my dad, why did mom do all of that? And why does she have to do that? And all? My dad said I should go and bring. He has this big jug that we used to make tea. He asked me to go and bring the jug of tea and bring 2 cups. So I went to get the jug of tea and I put it on the table. Now the jug is almost filled up. And he said, "What are you holding?" I said, "This." Yeah. He said, "This is your teapot." He said, "No, it's not mine, but it's a teapot." Yeah. I said, "Yeah." He said, "What do we use it for?" And I was looking at this thing. It's quite massive. So I was looking at it like, "What do you mean? What do we use it for?" It's for making tea, you know. And he was asking me. I was like, "Oh, we use it to make tea." And he said, "Yeah, yeah, I know there's actually tea in it right now." I said, "Yeah, there's tea in it." So what do you do when you have tea in it? Say, "Oh, you pour it into the cup and then we drink it." And my dad said, "Exactly, that's why your mom did that." You see, no one ever drink from a teapot. The purpose of the teapot is to fill other containers. But for the teacup to be of any use, the teapot to be of any use, it must have content in it. So if you have the teapot and it's empty, it's useless to you at that time. But anytime you want to drink tea or anything that is in the teapot, if it's got something in it and you're able to tip into a smaller container and you drink from it, it's benefited you. And that stuck with me. And since then, I've been calling myself teapot. Like, I always want to have content that I can tip into other content so people can benefit from it. And that's how I came about the name teapot. This is almost my official name, to be honest with you. Everyone calls me teapot now. Um, so I think that was the first question. The second question was what I do for fun. I play golf. I'm a little bit rubbish at it, but I've won a few trophies and all that. My handicap is currently 16 at the time of recording this video, so it might be 25 tomorrow. I don't know. But yeah, I play golf regularly. I try to play as much as I can everywhere I go. I take my golf bag with me. I play chess. Um, I've beaten my phone and laptop a few times on chess, and I play Scrabble as well. Apart from that, I don't do much. I can't play football. I'm too old. I can't run. I hate running. But I walk. I tend to walk. I walk as well. I try to spend a lot of my time teaching little bits and pieces about software testing, about job hunting, about all sort of things that people need now because the current atmosphere is that of fear at the moment because a lot of people are out of work. A lot of people are scared they might not get back into work in a while. So I try to encourage as many people as possible. Right, look, this affected everybody. We should all just keep calm and keep going. And I derive fun doing that as well. Like I can sit down with people and talk to them and do all sorts. And I have some personal project I'm doing as well, which I'm not actually doing, but I'm just the decision maker most of the time because I have a team of guys in Nigeria that are working on it. So those are the things I do now. I sit in my study here, like almost every day now, like for the better part of the day. I go to play golf. What else do I do? That's it. And I like cooking as well. I'm not a good cook, but I like cooking and stuff like that. So those are the things I do for fun. But thank you so much for this opportunity. Um, I really enjoyed it.
Well, I
So
I must say that your father was or is a very wise man, and he's passed on a lot of wisdom to you. And you know, you are actually the teapot for all of us. We also know you more popularly as the teapot. So
yeah,
this
I
is
am the teapot.
this this is fantastic. It was an absolute pleasure hosting you today, and I am so happy that you were the first guest on the TesterSpeak series. We hope to have you for many more such wonderful interactions, and it has been an absolute delight.
Thank you
So
so much,
on that
Bridges.
note, on that note, I would like to once again thank you, and I would like to tell our viewers to stay tuned for more content. I hope you've all liked this interview. Please give us your feedback. If you have any questions for for Adebayo, you can put them on the comment box, and we'll make it sure that Adebayo is able to answer those questions.
Yep.
Don't forget to like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel, so that we keep putting more content, and then you become aware of when the new content is available. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brijesh, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
You too.
Thanks.